Imagine having an illness that causes debilitating pain, nausea, and other symptoms that make you feel deathly sick. Now imagine finding out there is a medication that can relieve these symptoms, but it's currently illegal in the state you live in. Out of 8 states that have passed the medicinal marijuana law, there are approximately 15,000 people who have been prescribed this medication. That means out of the 23 states that have it legalized, there are still 50,000 Americans who are denied this treatment. I am one of those people who could benefit from medicinal marijuana due to my seizure disorder. Today, I'm going to explain a few common misconceptions about marijuana, cannabis medicinal uses, and the financial impact that legalizing medicinal marijuana will have. One of the biggest issues and stigmas about marijuana is that there are many common misconceptions and myths associated with it, which causes a negative impact against marijuana as a medicine. Such as the gateway drug. We've all heard it called the gateway drug, and it's viewed as a gateway drug, even though most marijuana users never use illicit drugs. For example, in 2009, 2.3 million people tried marijuana. Compare that to the 0.6 million that used cocaine, or the 0.1 million that used heroin. It's also been researched and studied that marijuana can actually be used as an exit drug, helping people with withdrawal symptoms from stronger drugs. And now you may be thinking to yourself, well, certainly marijuana has a negative side effect, long-term side effects such as brain or lung damage, but there is no clear, concrete evidence that marijuana causes long-term cognitive effects, and it is not associated with lung damage such as COPD, emphysema, or reduced lung function, and it does not cause cancer such as a cigarette. It has actually been hypothesized that marijuana has anti-cancer properties. Now that we've looked at 2 misconceptions, such as it being a gateway drug and the fact that it really doesn't have too much of a negative effect, let's look at the history of medicinal marijuana. Marijuana has been around since about 2900 BC and has been used for a plethora of medicinal purposes around the world. In 2700 BC, the Chinese started using it as an herbal medicine. It was recommended for malaria, constipation, rheumatic pains, and female disorders such as menstruation or menopause. The ancient Egyptians used marijuana for eye treatment such as glaucoma and pain associated with inflammation. And the ancient Greeks used it for inflammation as well, but also used it for earaches and swelling caused by edema. From the beginning of the Common Era to the modern times, cannabis has been researched, investigated, and prescribed medicinally around the world. In 1621, English clergyman and Oxford scholar Robert Burton suggests that marijuana can be used as a treatment for depression in his 1621 book, The Anatomy of Melancholy. In the Victorian times, it was used for a variety of ailments, including muscle spasms caused by tetanus, rabies, and epilepsy. In the modern times, the fight for this medication in the United States officially began in 1942 when the United States made it illegal to use marijuana as a modern medicine. November 1st, 1968, 26 years after cannabis has been taken off the U.S. pharmacopoeia, the Wooten Report, written by the UK's Government Advisory Committee on Drug Dependence, reports that the long-term consumption of cannabis in moderate doses has no harmful effects. Cannabis is less dangerous than opiates, amphetamines, barbiturates, and is less dangerous than alcohol. In 1988, 20 years after that, Judge Francis Young recommended that marijuana be placed into Class Schedule II and was recommended for patients who had nausea due to chemotherapy. He states, "The evidence in this record clearly shows that marijuana has been accepted as capable of relieving distress in a great number of people, very ill people, and doing so with a safety under medical supervision. It would be unreasonable, arbitrary, and capricious for the DEA to continue to stand between those sufferers and the benefits of this substance in light of the evidence in its record." Finally, by 1996, California was the first state to legalize medicinal marijuana, and since then, 23 states have it legalized. As you can see, marijuana has many medicinal properties and debates towards legalizing it, but let's look how it will affect us financially. Right now, marijuana prohibition is causing a negative financial impact in our country. The price tag for marijuana prohibition is $20 billion per year, including costs of law enforcement, court costs, and potential loss in tax revenues. There's a positive impact that will occur when it becomes legal. Replacing marijuana prohibition with a system of taxation and regulation similar to the alcohol taxes that we have in place now, we would produce an estimated savings in tax revenue between $10 billion and $14 billion annually. Right now, only the state of Washington estimates that it will generate as much as $1.9 billion in additional revenues in the 5 years since it became legalized. So this brings me to my end conclusion. November 4th, Florida is voting to pass the law on medicinal marijuana. I, for one, will be in line to vote yes. The sick people of this state deserve the treatment that they need. So let's puff pass the bill for medicinal marijuana in hopes that it will become a legal medicine for all of the United States.
Yeah! Yay!